Sherry Braithwaite. I facilitate a singles group. It's a Christian singles community. This group has singles who are all interested in personal development and in all areas. And this month we are focusing on living a balanced life. To sum it up, we learn how to thrive regardless of our circumstances. And there's a lot of healing also after a major marital loss. This group is my love. I love doing this. And Michael McCormick is in our group. He is a finance expert. We have all different levels of experts. We even have people in there that are married. So it's just there. People are just in there to support whoever wants to be supported. And there's areas we have that we can help each other and areas that we can be helped. So Michael's area of expertise is finances. And so he's going to teach us all about money. And the title, it's How Money Works, is a real application of success and money principles. And when I heard that, and we talked about that a little bit, the thought I had is, what is my relationship with money? I know that has everything to do with my financial status. And I also, I would like to be able to just understand all of that. He has 24 years of being a licensed financial professional, 34 years as an entrepreneur, and 47 years of solid attempts at self-improvement. He started when he was like 0, maybe 1.
Yeah.
But he's a public speaker and an educator. So I guess kind of the same thing. You do public speaking to educate. So anyway, I'm just going to turn the time over to Michael. I'm excited to hear all that he can teach us tonight. Thank you, Michael, for being here. And
you're welcome.
Ready.
Well, my pleasure to be here. And my background and expertise is lifelong entrepreneur, never had a job, always worked for myself. So my space in terms of entrepreneurship, and have done 24 years of mentoring and coaching on how to work for yourself and succeed, and then personal development, which goes hand in hand with that. But a lot of work in how to reprogram your brain, how to develop new habits, how to adjust your mindset. A lot of it is mental toughness and focusing on just how you see life and how you can see it differently. I would say that I'm an expert in change. And so for the purposes of that subject, we have some popular sayings in the world. One of them is, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. The author of that was the devil himself.
Yes.
It goes, there's a lot of things that we think are fun to say because we've just heard them before, but so damaging in terms of the mentality. If there was one reason we were placed here, it was to change. Yeah. So if there's one thing that the opposition wants us to do, is to not change.
They stuck.
and to be discouraged about change. So I would say that I'm definitely an expert in change and have invested the majority of my adult life in changing and teaching other people how to change, both their habits, their mentality, their thoughts, those types of things. And it's not easy. As with most things in life, we will constantly be under sort of a gravitational pull to the negative. We will feel a pull downward, and it takes no effort to allow that to drag us down mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So we have to realize that there is this constant negative weight against us, against progression, and that we have to actually express energy in order to combat, and even just to maintain actually takes energy. Otherwise, we digress over time. When I started through my divorce, I just got to the absolute low of lows, and I was not sleeping at night. I was having trouble. I was 85 pounds overweight. And I was having anxiety 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My just heart pounding all the time. I was sick to my stomach, crying all the time because I'm missing my kids. fighting for every minute that I can get with them. And I woke up one morning, and I can say that, and I think people can relate to this if you've been through divorce, but I never thought to myself, I'm going to kill myself. But I definitely thought to myself, I don't want to be here anymore. I
Mhm.
don't, I don't want to do this. I don't have the strength anymore. I'm so tired of fighting. And at that time, I was only 3 months into it. I ended up being over 3 years into it. But I woke up one morning, and I'd only slept maybe an hour or two all night long. I really was in bad shape, and I just woke up in the morning and I thought, I literally cannot do this another day. I don't have it in me. And I broke down and cried for like 2 hours that morning. And I just thought, I have to start controlling what I can control, and I have to start learning to let go of what I can't. And so that's when I wrote down the 5 F's. So it was faith, family, fitness, finance, and fun. And I decided I have to set daily goals in these 5 areas that are very achievable, very doable, and I have to start gaining control over as much as I can. And so I didn't start with huge stuff. I mean, being 85 pounds overweight, I'm 5'9", and at the time I weighed 245, and I just felt horrible. And I had heard and I had read that that a lot of controlling nutrition and controlling fitness can help with emotions. So I thought, I need all the help I can get. So I did simple things to start. I decided I have to do things I know I can do. So I'm just going to start simple. I started drinking water instead of soft drinks or anything. I started trying to avoid sugars. I just started looking for healthy ways to do different things. And then after a couple of months, I started going to the gym and exercising because I knew I needed an outlet to release some of that energy, and and work some of those feelings out. And then after a little bit of momentum, I started seeking professional guidance and professional help, um, who could help me understand how to eat better, and started realizing that there were foods that contributed to emotional health, and foods that went against it.
Yes.
And so I hired someone to help me with fitness, with exercise, and hired someone to help me with health. When you
Into
look her up, you'll think, how the heck did she end up with me? She's blind.
Oh no, my
She's
gosh,
gorgeous when you see her.
they're
So
amazing.
but that's her name. You can look her up on Facebook. She meets with people. We'll do a full review, consultation, sit down. And what I love about what she does is they'll do blood work, and they'll really look at hormones, which they're big into making sure that the hormones are balanced. Once I started getting my hormones in balance, I was low testosterone, which contributed to low energy, low activity, low drives of all types, and isn't good for the mentality. So once I started seeing where I was at, using somebody like this to really take a healthy approach to life, and people just underestimate the value of all this stuff. But I
Mhm.
set goals in each one of these areas, and I just took it piece by piece, and I kept doing it. And now
So daily,
eight.
you said that I wanted to clarify that with you. You said daily goal, like you do these, you find time for fun every day.
Yeah,
Good work.
I called it my dailies,
Awesome.
and my non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables.
I started developing non-negotiables in relationships. Um, and this is another word for maybe creating boundaries.
Yeah.
I also became very, very transparent. Honesty is a huge thing, and I'm not perfect. I mean, we all make mistakes. But I started being very transparent about my feelings, about what I was experiencing, and if I can't be transparent with someone and can't talk to someone, then we can't have a relationship.
have you talk about, so the beginning of the year, you posted a picture. I think you posted a before and an after,
Yeah.
what you were, where you were a few years ago and where you are today. And then you said, I'm working on some huge goals. I don't know all the wording, but it was a very inspiring post.
Thank you.
And I reached out to you and asked you, so what is it? What are these huge goals? I'm interested to know what these huge goals are that you're working on.
Yeah. So a year ago, I sent out that post, and so one of my huge goals I set was in fitness, and I set a goal to compete in a natural bodybuilding competition.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But my goal wasn't just to compete. My goal was to win and be designated. If you win a natural bodybuilding competition, you are now granted professional status. So in
Nice.
August, I competed in the Utah State Naturals, and I actually won. So I became a pro natural bodybuilder in August. And then about 5 weeks later, I competed in my first professional competition, which was in Vegas, at the Vegas Naturals. And I took second. And with that one, I was invited to participate next year in the with Team USA in the Natural Olympia. So next November, that will be the objective. But then
Natural as in no steroids, right?
no
That way,
steroids,
that way.
right? The reason I like the natural approach is because in those competition, you're tested by the same
Mm,
testing organization that tests Olympic athletes.
okay.
So it's WADA, WADA. And I was actually competing against over 50 males in that. And I was definitely I'm almost 50. I was one of the oldest people at the competition. I was competing against guys in their 20s.
Mm,
And uh, and I ended up getting tested because they thought I was so much bigger than the other people. So that was actually a proud moment to get tested. But I tested clean, and it was a fun experience. Now they just announced their next competition in Utah, and they actually have me on the cover of the poster. I'll be posting that online in the next few days. So that was kind of fun to. So I might be showing up to the one in April because it's hard not to if you're on the poster. But yeah, I
well,
appreciate you asking. That was a fun one. The being involved in the nutrition and the health side was great, and then it was something to focus on that was positive, something I could completely control.
wow.
And I found by just daily keeping, this is another thing that I find that people struggle with, particularly when you go through divorce. People struggle with self-confidence and self-esteem. Starting habits is one thing, and then the second skill set is keeping those habits. And then let me tell you the most important thing I've learned by a long shot. You will start new habits, you will keep them for a period of time, but inevitably you're going to run across bumps in the road. And so my commitment is that people that are successful, happy, fulfilled, they develop one thing above anything else, and that is they never stop starting.
Mm,
You know, it's one thing to start and then people think, "Oh, I didn't hit my goals, so I failed." No, you didn't. In order for change to really happen, you have to have a significant emotional experience.
mm,
You have to have some type of significant emotional experience, and a lot of times that comes through hitting a very low point, and simply coming to the conclusion over time that I don't want to feel bad anymore. I want to rise up. I'm tired. I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And
yeah.
so every time you start and stop and start and stop, you're making progress. Even though you stopped, you're still making progress because you've endured.
You're closer than you were yesterday, right?
Yeah, and even when you fail, you've still succeeded because at least you started again.
Yeah. That's
You know, if you have a balance in these areas, and instead of looking at your goals the way that most people do, where I'm setting these like lofty things to aim at, here's some advice I would give you. When you set your goals in these areas, set minimum standards of performance and then set go for it goals.
Mm.
So you have a range to operate in. And the more you keep your word to yourself, the more you start to believe in yourself, the more you start to trust yourself, the happier you'll be, the more peace you'll find, and the more self-esteem and more confidence you'll build.
What is the difference between like the mentality and the habits of someone who is poor and someone who is wealthy?
Yeah.
So,
Well, it is very easy to point out the difference. The difference between the two is people that are very wealthy, they value money. And they also seek to tell their money what to do instead of have their money tell them what to do.
mm,
I
yeah,
think it's interesting that if,
okay.
for example, if somebody's in the LDS faith, they often pay tithing. Before they do anything, they're instructed to pay God first.
Yeah,
But you know who you're supposed to pay second?
yourself. Right.
Yourself.
So do you advise 10% for yourself also? Or
Between 5 and 50%.
oh, okay.
Between 5 and 50. I mean, if you're absolutely desolate, you should be able to still do 5%. And people say, well, I can't save 10%. I can't put 10% away. If you put 10% away first, you'll manage the difference.
Oh, that
If
makes
you if you wait until the end of the month and then save what's left over, you won't have any.
oh, that makes so much sense. You're just a little tighter when you just don't have it. So what about their mentality? What they think of themselves or what they think of money? What does it take for
Well,
our mind?
most people that don't win financially have what we call a scarcity mentality. And the people that do make more money and keep more money and save more money have what we call an abundance mentality.
Yes. Yeah.
So scarcity versus abundance. A lot of people that are scared of money, they think that it's a hard thing to come by. They fear it. They limit their ability to receive it just because they worry so much about not having it, and they fear it so much that they make it out to be this big thing. People that have abundance are not jealous of other people's achievements.
Mhm.
They're not selfish about what they do with their money. They often give more. They believe that it's readily available, readily accessible, that it's obtainable. They try new opportunities. I would tell you that probably 80% of the people that work with me do it part-time and they have some other job. They're just trying to be abundant. They're trying to add income. They're saying, hey, I make some money doing what I do, but what if I could make some extra money on the side? What if I could help people and make some money? And so they're trying to develop this abundance lifestyle. Like, hey, if I put it out there and I believe in myself and I keep that hope alive that I can improve my life, then it'll come to me. But if I have this attitude like it's not, if you're trying to be more driven and you're trying to have goals in these areas of faith, family, fitness, finance,
Yeah.
the fun is critical, because if you don't mesh that into the whole thing, you'll burn yourself out and you'll burn out those around you. And so I'll give you a couple pieces of advice that I've tried to practice my whole life. Mandatory date night at least once a week,
Yeah.
regardless. Even in my marriage, that was a tough relationship. We still tried to go out weekly. And I think had we not had that, it would have been way more difficult. I remember pulling the kids together and saying, listen, daddy's going to have to work really hard for the next, 6 months, because I'm trying to get to this high point I've ever been to. And if I hit the goal, then we're going to go to Disneyland for a week, and we're going to go to SeaWorld and Disneyland and Magic Mountain and the beach. And we're going to stay down in Carlsbad. This was years and years and years ago when they were little. And the mistake with that is that if you start creating these these trips and you involve your kids, the very next day they said, "Dad, have you hit your goals yet?" So but it became a great thing because it incentivized me more to work harder because the whole family was tied into a goal at the end.
Yeah. Well, and as a parent, you're wanting to show them the way.
Yeah.
So
So
show
we
them.
write down their goals in these areas, these 5 areas, and then each one of my kids hangs it on the bed next to their face.
Okay.
So when they go to sleep, they can read it. You should read your goals twice a day, morning and night. Laminate one and hang it in the shower.
Oh,
Uh, put one by your nightstand. Use it as I carry one in my wallet at all times. It's always on me. But reading these goals twice a day out loud and write your goals. This is key. Otherwise, they won't work subconsciously. They only work consciously. You have to write your goals as if you are already in possession of them. So you write them in present tense, not in future tense. So you don't say, "I will be out of debt." You say, "I am out of debt as of May 31st, 2023."
okay.
So they have to be in present tense and they have to be specific with exact amounts and exact dates and exact times and exact words.
Yeah.
And then you have to write out a lot of reasons why you have to do this because that's what will give the fuel to the goal.
Yeah. That's
You
super.
know, it's once you've accumulated enough reasons, you'll find out how once you have a strong enough why.
That's awesome. This is perfect because this month we're focusing on the living a balanced life, and you just touched all of them: the faith and the family, fitness, finance, fun, all of that. We're talking about this month, so that was awesome that you did that because that just wraps it all up. So really appreciate it. We appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. Have a